Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into one of those really sneaky English challenges.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The difference between make and do, it trips up even advanced learners sometimes.
Absolutely.
You hear these two little words, maybe think, that's easy, but you've probably heard them used in ways that don't quite click.
Okay.
Maybe you've used the wrong one yourself.
Happens all the time.
So, our mission today really is to just unravel that mystery. We want to go beyond the sort of dry grammar rules
Right.
and look at real life use, some surprising bits and examples that actually stick. Think of it as a shortcut to sounding, more confident and natural.
It's true. And it's almost like English decided to make things tricky on purpose here.
Huh. Yeah. Seems like it sometimes.
Because so many other languages, French has faire, Spanish uses hacer, Turkish has yapmak. They just use one word for both concepts.
Right. Much simply.
Exactly. So for an English learner, picking the wrong one, well, it can make what you say sound pretty unnatural, even if your grammar is otherwise perfect. It's a classic pitfall.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Get to the core of it. So, at its most basic level, the distinction is, well, pretty neat actually. Do is generally for actions, tasks, and work. And make is more for creating, producing, building something.
Right.
There's this great analogy from our source. Think of it like this. You do a job and you make a cake.
Perfect. Simple and clear.
Yeah, at its heart, it's kind of that straightforward.
And what's interesting is how deep that difference runs in the language. If you think about it, most things fall into one of those buckets, right? Are you performing an activity, putting in effort, or are you actually creating something new, bringing a result into existence? That's really the logic underneath it all.
So the question to ask yourself is,
Yeah, exactly. Am I talking about an activity here, or am I talking about a finished result? That can really help.
okay, so if do is all about the effort, the task, the activity, let's explore some common situations where that's the right choice.
Sure.
We usually use do for things like duties, responsibilities, general activities where you're just performing an action, not really building something specific. What's a typical do thing that comes to mind for you?
Oh, definitely chores. Like
Sure.
do the laundry or do the dishes.
Classic examples.
Yeah, they're ongoing tasks, things you just perform. You're not creating a new object. You're just, completing the action.
Yeah.
Often things you do again and again.
Exactly. And other things like do your homework, do the shopping, do a job, do exercise, do your best. Even like do nothing or do something. You can almost feel that sense of activity, can't you?
Yeah, the process.
So you'd say, I have to do the laundry before dinner. Right. Or, can you do me a favor?
Right. A favor is an action you perform for someone.
Or, she always does her best in class. Or maybe, he's not doing anything today, just relaxing. See how they all circle around performing an action, putting in effort, not really fabricating an item?
That's the common thread.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's about the execution of a task.
So if do is about that performance, that ongoing action, what happens when we switch gears and actually bring something into existence?
Well, that's where make comes in.
Perfect segue. Yeah, make is exactly for that.
Yeah.
Producing something, constructing it, creating a result, whether it's like tangible or even abstract.
Right.
Think about that cake again. Or something less concrete, like making a decision. Common phrases with make really underline this creation aspect. You hear things like make a cake, make a decision, make money, make a phone call.
Make a mistake.
Make a mistake, yes. Make a choice, make plans, make a promise, make an effort. Lots of them.
Yeah.
So naturally, you'd say, I made dinner last night, or she made a big decision about her career.
Creating that decision.
Or you might suggest, let's make a plan for the weekend. Or hear someone say, He made a promise and he kept it.
And if you connect that back, you can see how make always points to something new coming into existence, right? Something that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Even if it's abstract, like a plan or a promise, it's about creating an outcome. It's quite an interesting contrast, isn't it? Doing is the process.
And making is the product.
Exactly.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because even with that distinction, some phrases just seem to, well, trip people up constantly.
Yeah. The tricky ones.
Let's look at some common pitfalls. These are straight from our source material. Classic mistakes, but actually easy to fix once you get that core idea. Like, have you ever heard someone say, I did a mistake? Or maybe even said it.
Oh, that one's so common. But yeah, the correct phrase is, I made a mistake.
Why is that again?
Because a mistake isn't the action itself, it's the result of an action. It's something you kind of create, unfortunately.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Or how about, can I do a call?
Nope. Sounds a bit off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It should be, can I make a call? Because you're initiating it, creating that connection, that event.
Right. And the opposite, she made her homework.
No, that's performing the task, the activity. So it's, she did her homework.
It really does come back to that activity versus creation rule.
It usually does. My sort of mental check is always, am I actively doing this right now, like an ongoing process or chore? Or am I producing something new, tangible or conceptual? That usually helps steer me right. And for you listening, maybe next time you pause before using one, just ask yourself, which category does this feel like? Activity or creation?
That's a great tip. And to really cement this, there's this quick, kind of funny story from our sources. It's about a student named Carlos. Brilliant guy, just moved to the UK.
Okay.
One day, he invites his English classmates over for dinner, and he very proudly announces, I will do a cake for you.
Oh, dear. I can see where this is going.
Right. His friends just look totally confused. One of them, trying not to laugh, actually asked, wait, you're going to beat up the cake?
Ha! That's quite the image. A very physical doing of a cake.
Exactly. Everyone laughed, but then his teacher, who happened to be there, smiled and gently said, in English we usually say make a cake, not do.
Nice, gentle correction.
Yeah. And Carlos, being quick-witted, just laughed along and apparently said, okay, I'll make a cake, but I won't make a mistake.
Uh-huh. Good recovery.
Wasn't it?
But what's fascinating there is just how one tiny word choice can completely flip the meaning, or at least lead to a really funny misunderstanding like that.
Totally.
It just highlights how important mastering these nuances is if you want to communicate clearly and, naturally. It's not just about grammar rules. It's about being understood the way you intend.
So true. Okay, so we've got the basic rule pretty much down, activity versus creation, but what about when the lines get a bit fuzzy?
The gray areas.
Yeah, those tricky phrases that seem to, I don't know, defy the simple logic sometimes.
Let's tackle one. Do business versus make business.
Okay, which one is it?
The correct one is always do business.
Yeah.
It means, to engage in work, trade, negotiate.
Right.
You'd hear things like, we want to do business with international clients, or our company does business in over 50 countries.
So make business is just wrong.
It just sounds unnatural in English, yeah. Now, this can be a bit confusing. I get that, because while you do business, that's the ongoing activity, right? Running the company. You also make a deal, or you make an agreement.
Ah, okay. So how does that fit the rule?
Well, think about it. You're doing the general work, the activity of business, but you're creating a specific outcome or result. The deal, the agreement.
I see. So the activity versus creation thing still kind of holds, even there.
It does, yeah. The activity is doing business. The created result is making a deal.
That's a really helpful clarification. Okay, what about another one that gets people make the bed versus do the bed? My partner still mixes this up sometimes.
Huh, yeah, common one. It's definitely make the bed, meaning arrange it neatly in the morning.
Right, like I wake up, brush my teeth, and make the bed.
Exactly. And the logic there, well, you are literally creating a neat, tidy bed from a messy one.
Yeah.
You're transforming it, giving it a new organized form.
Creating order out of chaos.
Sort of.
Yeah.
You're creating that tidy state. So it aligns with make.
Okay, that makes sense too. You're creating the made bed.
Precisely. You're not just performing an action on it, you're producing that specific result. Now, maybe we should touch on some more formal or work-related uses.
Good idea. Especially for business or academic settings.
Right. So for do, think about tasks again.
Yeah.
Do a report, do an analysis, do a presentation, do a review, do your job, do research.
All active processes.
Exactly. Like she's doing a presentation on climate change tomorrow. She's performing the act of presenting.
Okay. And for make in that context.
Think about creating specific outcomes or outputs. Make a proposal, make a suggestion, make a complaint, make a request.
Things you produce.
Yeah. Or make progress, make a profit. For example, we made a lot of progress in the last quarter. Progress is an outcome, a result you generated.
Right. A proposal is something you construct and offer.
Exactly.
Okay, expert. Quick fire then. If I'm getting ready for a meeting, am I doing a report or making a report?
You'd typically be doing a report.
Yeah.
It's the process, the task of preparing and writing it.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, now for you listening, try these quickly in your head. I need some homework.
Plus,
Do.
show his banks.
Let's business together.
Us do.
How did you get on? Did you feel that distinction kicking in?
Hopefully.
Okay, just to round this all out, let's cover a few more natural, everyday phrases. These are really key for sounding fluent. With make, you get things like make time for someone.
Create that space in your schedule.
Right. Make a fool of yourself, make a big deal about something, make it up to someone.
And apologizing.
Yeah, like, sorry I forgot your birthday, I'll make it up to you. You're creating amends, right? Creating a new balance. Oh, and make sense. That's a big one.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Very common.
And for do, common ones include do time, meaning be in prison.
Specific use. Yeah.
Do harm or do good. Do your hair or nails.
The activity of styling them.
Do badly or do well, like on a test. And do the math, like calculating something.
So, for example, she did well on her English exam. She performed well. She completed the act successfully.
Right. So hopefully listening to all this, you've just taken a really big step towards mastering this tricky pair, make and do.
Yeah, moving beyond just lists.
Exactly. From memorizing to actually understanding the logic underneath.
So just to pull it all together, let's recap quickly. Use DO for
tasks, work, duties, repeated actions. It's about the performance.
Right. And use make for
creation, results, decisions, plans, even some emotions, bringing something new into being. And honestly, the more you hear these and try using them in real life, the more natural they'll feel. Nobody expects perfection.
Definitely not.
You just have to practice, listen, and, learn with a bit of joy. That's the real key.
So maybe a final thought to mull over. Next time you're about to use make or do, just pause for that split second. Ask yourself, am I performing an action, doing a process, completing a task? Or am I bringing something new into existence, shaping a result, forming an outcome? That simple question. It could be your personal guide now for navigating these two fascinating little verbs.